book on their shelf. The girls are always like looking through it, reading it. Yeah.
You know the story, Kobe, like their kids got beat by a team, so the next time they played them, Kobe like 80-2 or something. Like he was like, we got to get them back.
All right, guys, we're live.
We're already live?
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, skip ads. Okay, we got this our own YouTube ads. You make them like that.
What? Oh, you kind of into yourself, huh? Watching your own.
Excuse me, I'm here to check the comments because I'm sure everyone will have.
So,
why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Derek Ogashi, Mahe kahale. Thank you for watching the channel. This live will be evergreen. So stack up your questions. We always answer questions. Make sure that if you're out there, like, comment, all that stuff. And we have a super special guest. First time we've ever done anything like this. Dr. Andria Tupola.
Hey,
Is
what's
it
up,
Andria?
guys?
Andria.
Andria.
Andria Tupola. Yeah. So I have a hard time walking the political line on the channel. So we tried to even make a video about Hawaii's political climate, but I was like,
yeah,
you scrapped it.
I don't know if
pretty much. Yeah, it got scrapped.
Because Kendra's like, oh, you kind of sound kind of. So we scrapped it. And also we had just mentioned off camera that I was like, you know, the way that we connected on Instagram, just a couple comments. One of my friends commented on your thing about property tax, and I was like, hey, you should come on. And I didn't expect you to say yes. You're like, shoot, my people call yours. I was like, oh, okay. And all I know of you is this local woman who is bright and warm, good energy, and seems to be. And I generally, you know, principally, I just want to poke holes in everything political. That's kind of my stance. But I was like, this person who I don't even know where her stance or her policies are, but I like her. She's in YNI, maybe jogging with the guy who always wears the
Kaika.
Yeah, I've seen the guy before. You know, either jogging with this guy I always see, or cleaning up and I was like, I don't know who she is, but I like it. So, you're a councilwoman.
Yep.
Dr. Tupola. You have a PhD?
I do.
In what?
Music.
Oh, yeah?
Ooh.
I'm a singer. Yep.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
Well, you had Kamehameha too?
I did.
What color?
I was a song contest leader.
Oh my.
Green was our color. We won as freshmen, just saying.
See, green
No
can
big
win.
deal. I never said green cannot win. I just said red is preferred because we're a red family, a multi-generational red.
Well, my husband did grad cuckoo, so everything in my house red. Yeah. He graduated Utah red. Everything
You
red.
play football too?
He played for Utah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I didn't go Kamehameha, so I didn't understand.
It's okay.
That's all right.
It's okay.
I didn't understand.
Other cam. Yeah.
I didn't understand the weight and the gravity of this, but I don't know if we were filming. We were together, and she's like, it like red was taken, and I'm like, why? What?
Did your daughter? Did the freshman?
They took red.
They took red.
Yeah.
Your daughter stole my daughter's red.
Sorry, my daughter's a freshman.
Yeah.
Go Warriors.
Yeah. Okay, so local woman, doctor, councilwoman of YNI or 96792. How does I'm really kind of ignorant
to the 707. I mean, so it's from a little bit out of Eva. So I used to have Eva, but after the reapportionment, I just have from Kapolei all the way to Kaena Point.
Oh, okay. So Leeward, like
ish.
Leeward-ish.
Yeah.
So
Augie's
Honokai.
district is next to it. Yeah, Honokai is my district. Yep.
And Nanakai, yeah. When we went to Campbell, Honokai was still Campbell High School. And then,
Oh,
so
really?
that's
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
No Kapolei High School back then. So what does that entail? Being a council woman, councilman, council member. What is it? Like in the government structure? I know you represent the people, but I'm literally ignorant to it. I know business. I have my views on taxes, but like, what does that mean?
So I represent the constituents of my area on city issues.
Okay.
So prior to this, I was a representative and I worked for the state, but in a smaller area in YNI, and I represented the constituent voices on the state side. So now I represent a much larger area because we have 9 city council members for this whole island.
Okay.
So I represent like 120,000 constituents, and I bring their voices to the forefront of city discussions. So that would be like trash, streams, water, police, fire, ambulance, permitting. So we are over different things than the state.
I see. What about where are people? I know there was someone in Waianae talking about we should have a second road, more Malka, coming in, and it would alleviate traffic. Is that a thing that might happen?
We have a road. We have Kolikole Pass.
But that's going to like Schofield, yeah.
Right. There's never probably going to be a way to make another road aside from
like
that.
A Malka road.
The road right now, the road right now, Farrington, like is very narrow even getting out. So by Black Rock, I mean it's just you got your 4 lanes coming out, but there's Nanakuli has its Ahupua'a right there. So there's no cutting into that. So the only other secondary access would be to rehab Kolikole Pass.
Yeah. I went through that back in the day. It's beautiful. And I guess, if you live Makaha, you might be better off, like going up Wahiawa I could see it. But so the parallel to Farrington Highway is probably never going to happen.
We have such a thing called an access road that does parallel Farrington in various areas, but everyone would agree in Waianae that it's not a parallel route because it's just certain areas that are off Farrington.
Dip back in.
Right, because we have accidents where we need ways around Farrington. We have water main breaks, car crashes, sometimes standoffs. We had one where they blocked the road because somebody was...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think in those instances, people just want to make sure there's other ways to get home, get to, your family, aside from Farrington.
For sure.
It's the largest cul-de-sac on the island. One way in, one way out. Why not?
So, in real estate, we have steering guidelines and fair housing laws, protected classes, etc. One, I don't know if I can agree. I was like familial status. Everyone agrees you shouldn't talk about race, gender, etc. and like red line or red zone areas. But like you can't say like a lot of families live here. But anyway, so it can be challenging to say like, oh, well, this is Kahala, this is Waianae, this is how they're different. But we try to, we just try to be honest. And one of the things that we always say is like, scrappers come from Waianae. I give Waianae Boxing Gym, Max. Max is from there, etc.
Rachel, boom.
Rachel. Also, like, I get my auntie, my cousins, my uncle would make you a plate, even if they don't know where their next plate is coming from, right? Like, Waianae is a special place. Can you speak to that? Like, are you from Waianae?
No.
So how did you end up there, and like, what makes it special, I guess?
It's like tied in with your show. We actually bought a home out there when I came back from college. So I was born in Kahuku Hospital. I know people are like,
really?
What? There was babies born there? Yes, me. Just me and like 20 people. So after Kahuku, we moved to Hawaii Kai. My dad is a judge, a retired judge. So he was in law school. They ended up buying a house in Hawaii Kai. So I was like one of the only Samoans in Hawaii Kai. Yes. Hahaione Hawks, New Valley Lancers. And then I went to Kamehameha. So I did college in Utah. I went to BYU. I did a mission for my church in Venezuela. And then I lived in LA. I lived in Arizona. My husband played ball in Texas and Michigan. Then we came home.
Oh, wow.
So when we came home in 2008, we lived like 3 weeks with my parents. No, it was like 3 months. And then I was like, we got to get out of here. Yeah. So we
rented. You guys had kids already at the time.
Yeah. I was had my second daughter and we rented in Waipio. And so my husband was in the police academy. So he would just go to work down the street, come up. So my dad's like, you should buy a house. I was how in the world is that happening? So I teach piano or taught piano. So I was just like, while the kids are down, teach piano and my husband go to work. And my dad's like, now this is, if you guys recall, 2008, 2009, kind of a recession, right? I didn't know because I was just busy pumping milk and like having children. So I was so confused when my parents were pushing me to buy a house and they're like, you got to do it now. So of course, everywhere we look, I'm like, there's no way. Like he has like a, public service salary and I have just basic dollars for gas that I get from piano teaching. So my cousin's a real estate agent and my husband was stationed in Waianae and he's like, hey, we should check out this place called Sea Country. And I was like, I don't know nothing about the West Side. So we're coming past Kapolei, we passed Nanakuli. I was like, yo, turn this around. I was like, where are we going? And so so we go into Sea Country and of course we lived in Utah for almost 10 years and it kind of had some similarities. Central Air, garage, community center.
It's like an Arizona suburb in Mairi Valley, right?
Yeah. So we walked into a house that was on a short sale, and as soon as we walked in, we both got the feeling. I looked at my husband, I was like, we're supposed to live here. He was like, I feel it too. So we bought the house.
So
in 2010.
Spent years there and became a part of that community.
Yeah.
And learned its endearing qualities. The ocean in Waianae is just, there's like, the mana is like tangible, right? Like there's it's not, you can't just, in no city can you just judge by its cover, right? But Waianae is multifaceted, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. And when I see you, I see like the best side of it. When I see you there, like, hey, we're going to clean up today, or we're out here doing, I'm with the people or whatever. That's like the best part of Waianae, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like you represent that thing in Waianae, yeah.
I feel like ever since I lived there, it's helped me to be more of who I am. And I'm a huge proponent in people being more of who they are. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I can be myself. I feel like my values align with the community. I feel like my heart, my passion, my mouth, my drive, I just feel like it's always felt like home, and everyone has been so welcoming to us for the past 13 years that we lived there.
She says that we had that moment yesterday. We're gonna be releasing our Maui video, and we won't cry right now.
Yeah.
But Mahe had a moment with someone who was so important in her life and was like crying, and then I start crying, and then I was like, all this like real estate loans, investment products, index universal life, Delaware, state trust. I'm like, I just want to go to a first birthday party, but we love our profession. Yeah. But it's hard to be both, yeah. And so like being who you are, like sometimes I like move Waianae too. Like Nirigani, so like I'm just like when I have my midlife crisis, it's like all the sidewalks and rec centers. I just want to listen to Cecilia and Capoto in the backyard. All the schools are rated 10 out of 10, and nobody popped fireworks, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy a Corvette or move to Waianae or something. Of course, I'm being outrageous, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel too, because culture is a huge part of our life. So I'm married to a Tongan, I'm Samoan, Hawaiian, but when we were usually scrap. But when I came back from Utah, I told my husband, I was like, the biggest thing that I want is our kids to learn who they are, be connected to their grandparents, this land. Yeah. And so they were, they went to Punanaleo, Kaiapuni, so they speak Hawaiian fluently. Wow. And I just really wanted us to be so grounded, so connected, and what better place than in Waianae, where we have the largest homesteads, 90% Hawaiians. Like everywhere you go, not only do you look like everyone and feel like it, but it's like home, Yeah. So it's always felt good for me. And
like on a weekend, like you go past like Zabran or whatever on a weekend, and like the people of Waianae are out, Like it's there's like a celebration just on a Saturday, Yeah, there's a beautiful thing to it. So we came together talking like you said so. I don't know your post. Oh, you're making a post about, hey, if you're gonna appeal your property taxes, because the people of Hawaii are experiencing a high increase in property taxes this year, right? So you're like, hey, make sure you guys challenge, et cetera, et cetera. And then one of our high school friends was like commented on your post, so I responded to her. Let's talk about property taxes. We have in Hawaii the lowest property tax rate for an owner-occupant in the country. But kind of no matter, when your home, you bought it for $100,000 and now it's worth $1.5 million according to the city, and you're kupuna, you're an elder living on fixed income, right? So these are the problems that we face. On one hand, it's lower, but also our real estate's very expensive. So that doesn't mean like, if you buy a mid-range home in Alabama, which is also in the bottom 5 of rates for owner-occupants, you're going to pay less because the home's only worth $300. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What say you about property tax? I mean, I know you're taking in opinions and representing people's opinions at a higher level. There's some other people out, trying to change some things like HARPTA and et cetera. Are you actively doing anything with property tax reform, or like, what did you have a certain message you want to get across on this channel? What should we talk about?
Sure. Yeah. So when I was a state legislator, I went to a conference with ALEC. I think it's like American Executive Legislative Committee, and they talked about truth in taxation. And at the time, I didn't think it was important because we don't do property taxes at the state level. Other states do, but here counties do property taxes.
Oh, yeah. Because Maui County is different than Honolulu County, et cetera. Oh, okay.
So they were talking about this truth in taxation, which at that point, I think was Utah, Tennessee, Minnesota. Now it's Utah, Tennessee, Minnesota, Kansas, and I think Texas. But truth in taxation is about keeping your revenue base neutral. So if your valuations go up, then you bring the taxes down so that you have the same collection amount. If your valuations go down, then you bring the taxes up so you have the same collection amount. And it makes sense because in budgeting for government, the volatility of it is tough. Because if we have a whole bunch of collective bargaining or bills we have to pay off in the city, but then boom, it drops. Like, where do we get our income from?
Right,
do we
right.
go pick up a second job as a city and
And
go?
we have a mutual friend who he allows me to be very forward and like, I hate your taxes, and he's like, I received that, but we got stuff to pay for too, and that's so I hear you, yeah.
Well, and I think some of the legislators commented like that, like, oh yeah, we had a larger collection this year, but we have X bill to pay, Y bill to pay. But other people are like, okay, so what?
It's not like they're giving refunds, yeah.
Exactly. They're like, okay, so you have more expenses. How does that make it fair that I'm all of a sudden within a month or two, like, boom, you're part of paying for those expenses?
And I've never known government to be skilled at contracting and giving money back.
Oh yeah.
I've only known the problem of expansion and more inefficient spending. When I was in the Coast Guard, and I only recently I asked some people, Dr. Tupola, where do you think she is and this stuff? Like, is she gonna hate me, right? But when I was in the Coast Guard, because I have no problem voicing my opinions, right? But when I was in the Coast Guard, I remember, and being a very opinionated young man, I was like, why are we getting this stuff? And they're like, oh, we got to expand, a new desk. I was like, we just bought this desk last August. Like, yeah, but end of fiscal year is October. If we don't exhaust our budget, we're not going to get it next year. I was like, someone should get a bonus if they don't exhaust the budget. And they're like, no, that's not how it works. And long story short, I was not very successful in government. I'm more successful in business. But I can't ever see a government saying, here's taxes back. Like, they'd say, oh yeah, we get more. In fact, let's keep it this way because we need them.
Yeah. And I think that's why when I brought up truth in taxation as a new council member, I brought it up to our director, Andy Kawano, and the property tax administrator, Steve Takar, because I said, hey, what would it be like to, one, have to disclose it? So part of truth in taxation is not just the change of the rate, that you're required to have a public hearing to explain to the people why you're collecting more money. Mm-hmm. So right now, when your valuations change, you get a paper in the mail, but no one gave you a forum to speak your voice.
Yeah.
You just, what do you do? Fight with that and then try to call the number, nobody answer.
And then how many people's auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa are not even looking at that paper and have no idea until it's too late,
right?
Yeah. And kupuna, so we can get to it later, but I commented it, but California has a bill where at some point your taxes are fixed, and so your property tax will not increase, and in fact you could pass it down to a family member, and that's a way. I don't know if that's the right move for Hawaii because we do have bills, but like at some point, at least maybe at 60, kupuna can count on a property tax rate until end of life. Like, I don't know how to do that, but I'm for that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, and that's where the whole budgeting thing comes in, because if you have bills that are not fixed, but your income is fixed, how does that reconcile?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, when I had talked about it, and it's something I'm going to introduce soon, is I do think that it's a valid idea to have truth in taxation where you have to disclose. You have to tell the public, hey, this collection went up this year. These are the reasons why. And because it's so high, we're going to bring the tax rates down. So there's a buffer of a percentage of growth or decrease where you can adjust the tax rates. So right now, we don't have that ability, right? So
the truth in taxation is like an idea, a principle that like 5 states adopt and the rest don't?
Well, only these states are using it. So I think Utah's been the longest. Kansas just adopted last year. And just for like political clarity, these are not all Republican or Democrat states. It's a handful of both.
Sure. So like, and Texas has the highest property tax rate like in the country, or one of them.
Because they no more income tax.
They don't have income tax.
Yeah.
And they have this thing where you can like hire an attorney to appeal your tax every year and stuff. So different political spectrums, but also different approaches to taxes and government budgeting.
But I think the thing I'm most in favor of is like having public conversations about it. I just don't think it's fair that you would get a notice in the mail and then not. So you can call me if you live in Waianae. Hey, this went up. Then what do? Oh my gosh, let's have a hearing and discuss it. But can anything be changed? No, because right now in the law there is no change unless you propose a bill, and then we decide, okay, we're going to change these rates. But like you said, the rate is low.
Yeah.
We're talking about the fluctuation of valuation.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about tax collection. You're talking about tax rate. And that's what I try to clarify for people. The collection should not rise infinitely.
Yeah.
Great. The city has bills to pay. So what?
Yeah. And
Bring
one
in
thing
money
we know
other
is
ways.
Hawaii's cost of living to income disparity is great. And so the delta between taxation and our state versus another one is like manini compared to the delta and their fixed costs versus our wages. Like it's, and their wages and our, they make enough to survive there in Alabama. We have a hard time with that, right?
Yep.
Hawaii people have a hard time. So what does that mean for us? We don't have public conversations about this now when we want to. So principally, how can I help, right? Like that's where I'm at is, for one, is being here and talking to thousands of people that'll see this. But like for me, who's very impatient, and this is like, why not? Why call Green right now? Come talk story. Like why not?
Yeah.
Bring Giardi or whatever. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
why can't we talk about? Why can't we be more transparent?
Right.
It takes a bill?
Well, the bill will bring a conversation forward.
Okay.
And then the conversation will be wrapped around what the bill entails. So right now we have Bill 61 and 62, which also touch property taxation, and it specifically cuts out owner, non-owner. So it creates new classification.
Right.
Right now in the city and county of Honolulu, there is no classification for owner and non-owner because they give you the homeowner's exemption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by de facto, if you fill out that form, then
that's your
the one
incentive
you
for
live in,
living in the house you
Yeah.
live in. Now, people would argue that the exemption is not high enough. Right now, 65 and under is 100,000 is the exemption. 65 and older, 140,000.
Yeah.
So you minus that from the overall cost of your house, divided by 1,000, times it by the 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you get? Well, you get a small tax rate, but I think what you're bringing up is, how do we stop the fluctuation? Because what do you guys project in a year or 2 years as far as valuation? Do you project status quo, below, above?
If I had to give a guess, we're probably returning. No, my crystal ball doesn't work. I'm not a macro or microeconomist, and even of those, you would get differing opinions. The CEO of another big real estate company came out recently and said they think first quarter of this year is the best time to buy because we'll return to favorable inflation numbers and lower interest rates, which will mean more steady appreciation, which is in Hawaii traditionally somewhere around 4%. So more normal growth than what we saw the last 2 years, because now where the government, and as a real estate agent, the government has been, or the Fed has been our sort of enemy by increasing interest rates. They were our partner by dropping them to like free money, 2.25%. And so without that, the government manipulation of interest rates really could change. Like if I guess one way, they can do whatever. So if Biden needs reelected and a stimulated economy helps that, and so now we return to quantitative easing, printing of dollars, lower interest rates, then that could give juice to the housing prices that shouldn't exist. You know what I mean? So long story short, that CEO said this is the best time, but that CEO also is not cash flowing, and they need to. So they're incentivized to say that the market's going to be strong. Too many people right now have too much equity in their homes. In this last market, Mahe, like in West Lock, 800,000 cash. Mm-hmm. We're losing to offers with so much strength, and now they're locked in. If they do have a loan, they're locked into such low interest rates that two things exist. People have too much wealth locked into houses, which didn't exist in 2008. And they're also in a way more affordable situation because they don't have arms and balloon payments coming due and interest rate fluctuation. So more people can afford their home, and more people have so much of their wealth locked into their home. I can't see a recipe for 2008, which was like, your esthetician, no offense to estheticians, it's like their third home, mm-hmm. and they're renting it, and now it's time to let it go. It's like, well, I didn't put much money into that. Let's just walk away from it. We don't have the same recipe, but I'm also not like the one smart guy from the Big Short movie who cracked the code last time. So I who knows, yeah. So I think just normal, like where we are, is pretty stable for interest rates.
So I have a question about what you said, because you just said people have too much equity locked in their homes. Like, which
to walk away. to walk away.
Oh, right,
to walk away. If you put $500,000 down on your $800,000 home, economy doesn't shift, and you go, let it foreclose and short sale. So they have too much to walk away and cause a domino effect.
I see.
Is what I think, and I'm parroting a lot smarter people, too, than me who kind of present these ideas. So I don't think we have the same recipe for 2008, and lending laws and whatever are a lot more strict. So that's kind of what I think.
So let me ask you another question, because everyone believes this is the silver bullet.
Okay.
If people from the mainland and other companies would stop buying here, things would get better for local families. So
when you were talking earlier, I wanted to kind of just share my thought on that. I'm a hypocrite. When I was in California, especially as I was just telling you how my sons had a shift in mindset, because I was telling you how confidence is a consequence of work. It's not an act that can precede the work. If then it's fake, right? It's something else. As I got out of the Coast Guard, scared, because it was post 2008. I was supposed to get out in 2010, and then I got out in 2012, and then all the adults were like, "How are you gonna make it out there? What are you gonna eat?" I was like, we're so institutionalized in the government situation, they didn't think that we were going to make it. So long story short, I worked hard, I achieved in the medical field, etc. I sold a business that I had built, and I started to feel like, you cannot make it in Oakland or San Francisco. Work harder, grow, go school, join the Coast Guard. Coast Guard sucked when I was getting yelled at on the ship, and I've experienced, racism and all these things, but I grew from it, because you always grow from hard situations. So if you cannot make it in San Francisco, you got to move to Sacramento, work harder, or commute. I don't feel that way in Hawaii. When people are pushed out of Hawaii and they move to Vegas, and it's Mahe's auntie, or it's my uncle, or it's your kupun or whatever, I just don't feel that way. I feel like I want to keep them here. And that's probably unfair, but that's how I feel. We're quasi a different thing than just a normal state. Is it just selfish for me to say, but I think you know what I'm saying, yeah.
Well, and I think about that because, keeping local families here for generations to come was really my message. I ran for governor in 2018, and it was tough. I was 37, and I had this message because I wanted to be a standard bearer. I wanted to be somebody, no matter if I won or lost the race, I wanted people to know that that's the message that we should be carrying with us as elected officials, is how can we help more local families stay here for generations to come?
Yeah.
And I think that what I learned as a Polynesian, especially because in Samoa and in Tonga, you have to be of that lineal descent to keep land, and you can only pass it through your family, right?
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And that's in Western Samoa and American Samoa, or?
I can't speak to the differences there, but if the Matai system is there in the area, then basically it keeps land in family.
Yeah. So land is not this like commodity for trading and profit. It's to be respected and familial.
Right. And typically for any Polynesian, you can go back and you still have your family land because it'll never go away. You can't sell it to a foreigner. You can't sell it to a non-Tongan if you're in Tonga. You can't sell it.
Kind of like Kuleana lands in Hawaii.
Kind of, yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
So I feel like that's the whole gist of Hawaii, right? Is like this cost of living has fractured families.
Yeah.
So because now we're missing a generation, because the kupuna stayed. So most of the guys that I knock doors to and I talk to, they're staying because they're older, because this is their home. They're not moving anywhere.
Yeah.
Some of them go and live with their grandkids, but a lot of them stay. And they're like, oh, I hope my grandkids come visit me. I hope my son comes back. So we're missing this generation right here, right? Because the one that's coming up, they're staying here, but are they deciding to leave after high school? We'll see. So when I ran for governor, I knew already that my generation was missing in leadership.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our generation has gone already.
No, we were our export was our people.
Right. And so my thing was like, if it's our turn to step up, if it's our turn to lead in Hawaii, and there's so few of us here, like, I got to give the rally cry.
Right.
So I was like, let's go. And a lot of people did see, because I got all the way to the end. I was the last person to run against Governor Ige. And it was that message that I had that night on the stage that I said to people, is that I'll never give up.
Yeah.
And people always ask me, oh, it's so much cheaper in Utah. 2 of your brothers live there, da-da-da. I will never give up. I'm not leaving Hawaii.
So you asked a question to me, and I didn't give you an answer, which is, people feel that if mainland people would just stop coming, that So I'm conflicted, and all I can do is have a conversation because I don't pretend to know the answers, and I don't pretend, and also I don't know how to affect the change that I would like to see, but other than having conversations with people like you, I don't think I'm skilled at that, right? There is a mathematical equation that if there's X amount of homes and someone flies in and moves in one, then the lowest earner is probably moving out to Vegas or something like that. That's oversimplified economics or human economics, but it is true. But I also don't think the mindset of government intervention and increasing taxes to 100% so that you're exclusive to people, and I don't think that elevates Hawaii, Polynesia, any people to where they need to be.
He's talking about HARPTA.
I'm alluding to HARPTA, but just and I'm happy to go directly there. I DM'd Brenton Ava about it, and I haven't read his bill, so I don't know. But I don't that mindset. So and I met Mahe, and again we won't cry, but Mahe was had gone through a life transition, was sleeping on a bunk bed with her 2 kids in her family house in Wailua, and was like, I don't know this real estate thing, but the next year I'm gonna figure it out. And now her life's different. Her life's entirely different, and a lot of that is mindset, right? Mm-hmm. It's like I challenged her in a lot of things I won't even share here. Like we're gonna ask you that question by my house. Like, do you think you're? Yeah. And she, things that especially a local Polynesian woman would not be empowered to be like, do you think you can do, you should be able to do this, think like this. Like for me, that's my solution, because that's what's helped me in my life is people teasing out my mind to say, what would fix the way you think, think different and work harder. And although it's arduous, the joy and the pain and the growth on the other side of that is what life's all about. That's altruistic for me because now I earn well, etc. I don't anywhere where it's like tax more, give more for free. Like it's never led to anything good that I can see, and it's not conducive to the way I solve problems for me or for my team or my family. So principally, that's my answer to you. More people block everyone coming from the mainland. Again, I don't feel the same way here. I don't want Kupuna pushed out to Vegas. I don't even, do I think young people should leave like you did and grow and come back? Yeah, I think that's beneficial. Yeah. Ari'i did that, etc. That's good, right? But I think I would love it when they can return. And some of our favorite deals, I was just texting with Jasmine this morning. She's returning. Iolani grad, went to the mainland, blossom, now buying the mom a house, or helping. It's a beautiful local story, but that's not the standard story.
That's that's not the common theme that we hear. And we are, personally, I'm conflicted often because, that kind of comment on the YouTube bothers me. All these mainlanders, you guys helping all these mainlanders, you guys sellouts, whatever.
You guys peel out, yeah.
You don't know me.
Yeah.
You don't know. Sorry. You don't know how my family struggles and how I genuinely feel for Hawaiian families that struggle, who have to leave and who may never return. I am lucky enough to be able to choose who I work with. We have that luxury. So when people think that, you just sell to anybody, you guys sell outs, whatever. I was like, no, we're actually very careful and intentional about.
Well, no, we cannot exclude people.
No.
We happen to have amazing people come into our life because this is our platform.
Exactly. So we put out a different thing. Therefore, the people that come to us, even if it is a mainlander who wants to move here, it's not somebody who they come to us because they want to work with a local person, because they want to be respectful of local culture, because they want to come here and not be that person that everybody hates, that all the local people, are hating on all the time because you're pushing my family out by coming here.
And relocation market has always been
that's always going to happen. But my question that I want to ask to people is, why can't my family, a Hawaiian woman who comes from extreme poverty and who I'm the first person in my family to have a pendulum shift and to pull our family out of that, why can't I do that? Like, why do you get to, hate me for wanting to do that for my family? Like, I'm also a local woman struggling. My family is also a local family who's had to leave. And I cannot fix everything. I cannot affect the change that is going to ensure that my family, that your family, that our families can stay here forever and that we're not going to get pushed out. Do I wish I could? 100%. But that's not my reality. My reality is that I can affect change in my family. I can affect change in my generational wealth. I can affect change from my children. Right. And I'm empowered to do that. And I want other people, other local people to be empowered to do that as well. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a real estate associate. I'm not a politician. I'm not, I can't affect the change that a lot of people can. And I appreciate and I hear where people are coming from. I understand it hurts me to see those things because I'm conflicted by those things as well.
We are conflicted on many levels. And that's
one thing I want people to understand is like, I'm not a victim. Like, I don't want to be a victim. We don't have to be victims. We can effect change by personally taking charge of our lives, by personally changing our mindset, by doing things that are within our control. And therefore, the more control we get on our lives, the more effect we can change with the people around us, the larger perspective we can build for ourselves, the broader lens we can put on our children's eyes.
Isn't this where Bernice Pawahi Bishop's mission
this is so Napua Pawahi kind, like...
Well, and I think, one quote comes to mind. If you want to change the world, go home and love your family.
Exactly.
Right.
And so like it starts in your home. And I would maybe argue that what you guys are doing is less of selling houses and more of building homes. Mm-hmm. And what we're talking about here is less of government and more of building community. Mm-hmm. And so like my mindset and my direction as a leader is so different than some of my colleagues because I am that person that has this idea that a mindset shift has to happen. Yeah. So when people say, oh, people are leaving Hawaii, how does government affect that? Mm-hmm. Well, it affects it through policy, right? Mm-hmm. So if taxes raise or if people are like, oh yeah, the way we're going to make it through is we just got to raise this tax. And unfortunately,
if you ask a surgeon if you should cut, they're going to say cut.
Yeah.
Right? You ask a bureaucratic government official how to fix something, policy and taxes. Right?
Well, and that's the thing though, is that money doesn't solve all problems. And I would argue that there's a lot of problems I've solved in my community with no money.
Well, I think, so I like how money solves problems. Having money solves the problems that not having money creates.
Well, I would say throwing money at the problem doesn't solve it.
But the government, no offense again, is skilled at turning a dollar into a nickel. If permitting across the country, not calling anyone out, specifically, wanted to get rid of the ability for greasing, they would be incredibly efficient. Because if I can get my permit in an efficient manner, just as efficient as it otherwise would, there would be no more opportunity for corruption.
Oh, yeah.
But inefficiency breeds the corruption. Right. And so I am a charitable person. I gave the homeless guy $20 the other day, and I was like, but I wouldn't give to Make-A-Wish Foundation if every dollar 5 cents got to the kid. So I just think the idea of altruism that is presented, and why especially young people who are very progressive and liberal say, oh, get more taxes, fine with me. I used to say that kind of stuff. But then I realized I don't want to give to an inefficient charity.
Yeah.
So I would give to an efficient charity by choice
than
an inefficient charity, aka government, by demand. Yeah.
Well, and my mindset came when I lived out of this country. When I lived in Venezuela, at the time Hugo Chavez was the president, and they were giving out free houses, free education, free medical. Oh, it was great. You super poor, you can live off the government forever. So I learned about politics, from there. And people are like, you don't know socialism. I'm sorry. I lived in socialism where everybody carried guns, and it was socialism mixed with dictatorship. So it wasn't just like, it was just free medicine. No, you're getting free things at what cost though? Mm-hmm. Because I got sick there. I got parasites when I was in Venezuela, and the form of medical is so low because you are giving it out free to everybody. Right. So to some extent, when I got home, I knew, one, that is not a sustainable concept.
Right.
And two is like, I need to be about empowering people because I just saw people have their power taken from them.
Yeah.
And when you take people's ability to work away, and that wasn't even by choice, they actually did it up here.
Right.
They led you to
I
believe
lead
it.
back to principles and mindset. Like, I don't know how to fix it, but I'm conflicted on a couple of things. So do I sound like a straight, DeSantis right now? But it's true. I don't think you can compete with my thoughts that government's inefficient. Now, am I total libertarian? Like, first of all, I'm not a Republican. I'm just Derek who likes to throw holes at everything. But
can I add, though, that most people around our age are not actually from a party?
Yeah,
I would say when
identify.
I ran for governor, like there's a certain age bracket, my dad, and that they need to know, like, what party are you?
Which gang are we in, right?
But most people my age were like not interested in that. They wanted to know, what do you believe?
Like, I'm a thinker.
What do you think? Yeah.
So, how do you change? So Mahe talked about, how her mindset has changed her life, etc. My mentor who he's from a communist country, Czech Republic, and he's like, I've lived communism and socialism. It's like, I can tell you what that's like. And I passed a lot of those teachings, but I like localized it, internalized it, and then passed it to Mahe, and and so, but not every. I was just telling you how competitive we are, right? Like how I was like, I don't know if you want to work this hard. And when we interviewed, I doubt you want to work this hard. And Mahe's like, try me. We cannot expect whether local or we're talking on like a global mind, not everyone's going to be this. So there is a level of compassion. And again, I'm more compassionate towards Hawaii people than I was in San Francisco. Probably San Francisco's got transplants too, so they weren't from there to begin with. But it's different for me. I'm like, yeah, mindset, but I'll pay auntie's rent too. I feel different here. How do you reconcile that? Because I'm learning. I don't know much about you except for she seems cool on Instagram and she's like rootsy, and I love it, and warm and all of the things. And but it seems like we agree on a lot of things. But how do you reconcile that confliction that we have? Like,
You mean being conflicted on?
I kind of expect everyone to be like, wake up
hard
at
worker.
4 a.m.
Yeah, like you want to be like, just do it. Like, just do it. Like, you can do it. Like, you're strong. Like, change your mindset, change your life. No. Mantra. But at the same time, like, empathetic, because it's like, it's home and it's like your people, and you want to like lend your cousin all the money ever, even though you know that they're not really going to they're not going to maybe make the best financial decision, and they're not going to maybe do the work to change, to bring themselves, like, how do you reconcile that, like, feeling? I don't even know if that's something you struggle with.
We're the wealthiest country in the world. You hear from competing argument, like, we have enough wealth to feed everyone. Why are people on the streets? Like, the mental illness is a thing. There are bad people that just don't deserve it, whatever. But I get that too. Well, all I can say is, if the dollars weren't an inefficient, a machine that turns dollars into nickels, then maybe we'd have more to help people. But aside from that, like, I would imagine you probably have some of this, like, reconciling that you have to do too. Like, you are of Waianae, right? So, like, there's people there who are so amazing, but they never gonna go to Rich Dad, Poor Dad University, come mentor with me, and like become a business scaler who studies entrepreneurial operating systems and like.
I think what I'm interested in is just helping people be more of themselves. So in Waianae, I'm not there to transform anyone. I'm not there to change people. I'm there to help them be more proud of every part of who they are.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the reconciliation is easy. I mean, you're talking about enabling versus empowering. For me, what I try to do with the community is that we are not enabling. I'll give you an example. You brought up Lu'ule'ole Road. Okay, so the Navy calls me, oh, this road's super messy. What is my first step? Not to clean the road for them. Mm-hmm. My step is, oh, okay, so how much are you going to do to help? Yeah. Oh, well, we called you because you do cleanups. Oh, I know, but you own the road. Yeah, so I like, no, are you going to get me trucks? Are you going to get me volunteers? Because this year I will help. but the people around, you got to help too.
Yeah.
I'll give you a different example. I clean Kaukamana Road, which is parallel to Farrington, the one inside by Miley
Gotcha,
Elementary.
yeah.
No, this
Oh,
is
that-
like
what is-
outside, more
oh, yeah.
towards Farrington Highway.
Okay.
So when I got out there, everybody, oh my gosh, Andrew's here. Boom, cameras filming. Andrew's here to clean the street. I was like, yo, I'm not here to clean the street. Get out your house. Get out your house.
Yeah,
Everybody's like, oh, I gotta
love
come.
that.
I was like, they're like, where's all your people? I'm like, I am the person. I never brought people because this area is ours.
Yeah.
I'm talking about community ownership. So everybody came out. Everybody was helpful. But I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna clean this road one time. Then I'm gonna tell you guys how this was never gonna happen again. I hauled like 14 cars off that road, abandoned, burnt, all kinds of stuff. So I think for me, it's like I am trying to do things that are empowering, but I'm also trying to get people to understand they got power within them. You don't got to watch me and film me. You can come out and be a part of this.
Yeah.
And I think that starts from getting the kids involved, adults, and of course, every time people are like, oh, I like come out to Wine and help. I was like, no. I got to get the people from Wine first to come help me. You can try it and come, but I like them feel this ownership and this, oh, this is my neighborhood. Because you know what? When you guys are gone, I want them to turn around and be like, hey, don't vandalize this wall. We just painted this wall.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
our wall. Yeah.
Let me pose you another challenge. So there's X amount of continents, states, etc. And on average, like a psychologist, like a Jordan Peterson or someone would say, like, well, on the scale of disc personality, Myers-Briggs, etc., you're gonna have achievers to non-achievers. And then there's all these places to live in our modern world with internets and airplanes. So you got Oklahoma, Alaska, Hawaii, Greece. Like, so through the natural order of things, especially post-COVID, where you can work virtually and people have more choice on how to design their life, and then more disruption, which causes them to make those choices. Hawaii is a place where all of the elite of the world, it's earners, like narcissistic, sociopathic earners who achieve great success, can come and say, oh, I'm buying my TMK, my parcel, in that weather, for those with that ocean, with that culture, and then the culture is no longer the culture. Hawaii is not Hawaii. So through the law of averages, yeah, go and have like some insane Dereks and Mahes who just gotta work hard and maybe can survive here. But you cannot expect everyone to do that. So Hawaii, if everyone decided Hawaii is the best place to live, you're going to start chopping them off at the bottom. And that doesn't mean, so if they cannot compete, do they have to move away? Like, and there's no answer. There's no like one answer to that. But that's what we tussle with, right? Like, people throw shade our way, throw smoke our way, and we're like man, we it's not like I'm a dictator and can affect anything and also, all of those things. But that's, how do you reconcile it that way? Like, yeah, empower people. This is your aina, whatever. But at some point, they're just not going to be able to afford if start with Jeff Bezos, work your way down. Mark Zuckerberg owns part of Kauai, Oprah Maui. Not going to have land left except for like combines that the workers got to live in.
I guess I would go back to the mindset question, which is when you say no can afford, my question, which I, work with my community on, is what are you trying to afford? So are you trying to afford rims? Are you trying to afford like your kids get every bike? Are you trying to, so what I'm saying is that like where there's a will, there's a way, right? So
I'm with you.
like stay in Hawaii and you want your kids to grow around their cousins, their grandparents, whatever's. You would make the sacrifices. So maybe your priority is a little bit out of order, but you could still make it here if you wanted to. But if you want all that other stuff, and like work super hard for them, that's a different equation. That equation is not going to work out over here.
Yeah.
But there's $5 Fridays at Safeway. There's like, there's ways to overcome inflation. I'm just saying,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So I think what we agree on is at some point, what I'm saying, there's
like an empowerment via. Not even education and like you are lacking of something and you need to know something, but education of more of a standpoint of like just showing and like opening, having a different perspective and having a different lens on and being able to see things from some, like, yes, things are expensive, but no, maybe we don't need that. Like maybe
well,
we
and
can,
I think from macro to micro, right?
You don't need one. I went 604 Beach House.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the girl. She's like, oh, I'm saving up for my... And she wasn't patronizing, trying to get me to give her a tip. I was saving up for I've been working double, saving up for first birthday party. And I was like, oh, your family helping you? She's like, no, just me. I was like, I can keep them small. She's like, no, I'm gonna have 10 feet. I'm gonna have,
Oh my gosh.
and I was like, they're not gonna remember, and I know you don't own a house. I wish I could mentor you and help you, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So first, even though it's Hawaii, even though it's competitive, I think what we agree on is start with mindset, and if people are elevating and working hard, then maybe we can talk about some other measures. But we gotta aloha and hustle are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
preserve both, and I think that's what. I mean, you went Kamehameha, so you guys know more than me. But I think that was the mission, is like compete in the world and maintain aloha. And this is self-righteous, but my dad was a Waikiki beach boy, and I used to, as a kid, and I lived I born on the mainland. So when I came to Hawaii mid-childhood, I like romanticize. I read books about Duke. My son's name is Duke, and I like Blue Makua and Uncle Cowboy and Auntie Jenny and Waikiki taught me how to surf, and I was like gonna be a beach boy, and my dad was like, no, what did I do? But I identify like Mahe and I as like the modern ambassadors of aloha, and we have a far reach from Hawaii. Now there's other people and news anchors and stuff, but we have our piece on the beach of Waikiki in the YouTube world, and we just participate in real estate, and relocation happens either way. Some measures, people, let's talk about actionable things. These are all first world problems. I'll wake up like this. I could be born in the year 1200, 1642, any time in Hawaii with this expensive, state to live in is still amazing. Like I could be trying to make it through a winter in 1642. You know what I mean? So one thing people can do, especially at a young age, is house hack. Now, people have been doing this in Waipahu and Kalihi, not knowing it was house hacking forever. But house hacking is the idea of buying a house, renting out as much as you can, like hui the deal. Imagine you do that when you're 22. You buy a 4-bedroom in Eva. I mean, I don't know if it's against any housing laws, but live in the garage or whatever, and then rent out all the rooms, get your mortgage paid down for the next however many years. And now at 28, jumpstart your life with like 800 grand in equity, and then compete in Hawaii and help another local kid do that or whatever. You can grind here and make it. You have to work hard, but you're not going to work harder than being in Utah in the year 1400 in November.
Right. And you're giving up your family relations, you're giving up your culture. I would say another hack that a lot of people don't know about is the auctions. So on January 18th, they had the Big Island auction. They're auctioning off parcels for in the thousands. They did the Puna area, Pepe'ekeo. I mean, I look at the auction sheet.
It's not lava zones. It's like zoned for
No,
building.
I mean, you can buy this stuff for like, guys bid 5,000, 8,000. You get like a 6-acre parcel over there. Now, the way they do it is when you foreclose in that county, not in ours. So we don't have auction on Oahu. But what I'm saying is owning land is owning land.
Yeah.
So if you are able to understand that, and actually at this past auction, my friend that helps to push out information to Hawaiians, she said there was way more Hawaiians that showed up at this. Like, sure, we would all love to see DHHL do what they're supposed to and house Hawaiians. But in the meantime, how about go to the auction? Yeah, go to the auction and maybe like see what's up, right? You can actually get the list prior to the auction, see if any of the parcels are anywhere where you would actually want to live, if it has infrastructure, if there's still a house on it. So just saying, I agree with you. There's ways to do it, but I think making this upcoming generation understand that owning a home is a priority.
Read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a whole different way. Have you read it?
No, but I have it. Yeah, I haven't read it.
Can I challenge you
Sure.
to listen to it? It's a great listen to. I do it at least once a year, and it like shift our keiki. Like Mahe called me crying. I was like, I think I ruined my kids. They don't know. And then there's this board game associated with it. And she called me again. Like, they're playing the board game talking about assets versus liabilities. It's not too late.
It's like, I don't think I ruined them yet.
And then,
I think they're okay. They're going to be okay.
Yeah, so I'm serious. Read Rich Dad Poor Dad for sure.
You got some action in the comments too.
Got a bunch of comments. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, before we go on the comments, are there like things that you wanted to get a message across about taxes? The appeal period is over, but this video is evergreen. So every year in Hawaii, you can appeal and I asked them, I said, is there any, like, should I just not say nothing? Is they going to increase them? Are they going to make my taxes higher? And they said, no, we won't increase the new assessed value, but you can appeal to put it down. Now, I don't know how effective it is, but was there anything else you want to?
No, I mean, if anything, you can join our conversations at the council. I'll share some of the proposals I'll be putting out as far as I think changes that need to happen in how we are more transparent and when tax collection increases. So I think those conversations definitely, if you're like super nerdy and you're like, I love this stuff.
I've never been to something like that, but maybe I'll come.
Yeah,
you can challenge me to do that.
In hearings, it's like a mental spar. Because you have all these people sharing ideas, so you have to be really good at like hearing, intaking, assessing, questioning, asking, compilating. Like, so I personally love it.
Negotiations. Yeah.
I personally love it because I'm a voice teacher, so I love voices. So I listen to voices very carefully, and I'm like, oh, where do they go? What are they saying? So I feel like it's interesting for me. Other people are like, snooze us.
Snooze us. I want to say one thing. I want to bring up a polarizing topic. Department of DHHL, Department of Hawaiian Home Leaseholds. I don't love DHHL for Hawaiians because they don't build wealth on leasehold land.
Agreed.
And so if a kupuna, someone nearing end of life, these are reasons why leasehold could make a lot more sense. But if a Hawaiian comes to me at age 30 and is like, I could get into DHHL for X amount, fee simple, traditional real estate would be X. I'm like, Hawaiian, how can we get you to that? Because that's going to build generational wealth for you, your family. So again, and then in DHHL, I mean, you know, I'll name drop. Like I used to surf with the Alwais and the Kealohas at Barbers and at Kalealoha, like Barber and favorite people. Like I would be on the mainland when I lived there. Like I miss those times and those people, those Hawaiians. But like, you're not building wealth at DHHL.
No.
So you said if they would do their job, what if we reallocated the funds? I don't know if this is something even possible. What if we reallocated the funds that are spent on DHHL and help people with down payments, 50% Hawaiians with down payments on fee simple homes, reallocate all that to down payments so they can actually build wealth and take that trajectory instead of the trajectory that is government subsidence?
Well, two things. One is all of the parameters of the law were set on the federal level. So the Department of the Interior, through Jonah Kuhio Kalana Ana is who enacted the Native Hawaiian Homes Act. And technically in the verbiage of the act, it says that they are supposed to be giving land. So it doesn't say you have to give land with a house and it has to be 650,000 with 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Like I feel like sometimes it would be good for DHHL to reread what the act originally said because it also
give ownership.
So I think there could be some conversations, but I want to say that per the law, the agreement was to keep the lands for Hawaiians, not necessarily the land for a Hawaiian family. Now, what I'm saying is that if you wanted to change the
you have to
law,
have long-term control. Because Hawaiians could sell it to a California family.
Exactly. So they were trying to keep land for Hawaiians. But unfortunately, I think that the downfall of it is that whenever you're talking about 50% Hawaiians, there will be a point where there's no more.
What's going on? The blood content adjustment is just like, I mean, I could never. My kids can, thank God, because I thickened the poi with my ex-husband, right? But like most people can't, you know what I'm saying? But that's just not real. Like it's so hard to find a 50% Hawaiian now. Like,
but they have had conversations about down payments for Hawaiians, and I would agree with that. I do want to share
them to build real wealth, you know, and then feel that. And when you feel that, you're like, oh, what else? Maybe I will read that book, Derek, and
well, okay. So I gotta share a story that will just inspire everyone because like. Way back when I was first a representative, the group that lived at the boat harbor, you know, they wanted me to ask the governor at the time, oh, can we live here permanently? And I was thinking like, why would you want to live here permanently? There's no more water here. There's no more sewage here. But what had happened was that was what they knew as home. So Auntie Twinkles was like, Andrea, come to this meeting.
She like maramas the whole place,
So she was like, oh, come to this meeting with me. So I was like, why am I going to go to a meeting? She's like, oh, they're going to talk about helping us. I was like, who? She's like, oh, some nonprofits, people from UH. And me, I'm skeptical about everybody. So NGOs, I was just like, so I walk in the meeting. I was like, what these guys selling over here? Pipe dream. So there's like putting up pictures on the wall. Like, oh, what houses do you want? I legit walked out of the meeting. Auntie was like, Andrea, how come you left? I was like, who's going to give you land? I don't want to talk about these houses or what the heck these guys are going to get grants for using you guys for. Where is the piece of land you own? And she was like, what do you mean? I said, I don't want to talk about you guys living at the harbor. I think you should go buy a piece of land. She's like, we're homeless. I was like, I don't care. You guys should start a nonprofit and you should go raise the money and buy a piece of land, get out of here. And she was like, oh, that'd be so nice. I was like, let's do it. She's like, you really think we can do it? I was like, you can do it. They were like, oh, but it costs thousands to start your nonprofit. I was like, bye, come to my house. That night, everybody came to my house. We boom, 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 boom. 501c3, done,
501c3,
finished.
yeah.
Hawaii Dynamic Community Solutions is the name of their nonprofit. And then, you know, over time, we found a parcel in Waianae Valley, which was going for 1.4. And then they got him down to like 900,000. But yeah, Piero Midiar contributed. The state gave them 100,000. So they had to do a lot of fundraising. They had to do a lot of marketing too. But long story short, if a homeless village can raise money and buy a parcel of land, I think we can all do it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
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 I think so.
Yeah, I love it. So what questions can we answer on here? I'm sure we've been going for so long. We have many, right?
It's kind of just like, let's see.
Oh, Lauren's. We got to get Lauren. Our other teammate, Lauren Kawahakui, she had a question.
Oh, yeah.
We'll make sure. Don't let us not get to that. Like, and it's on my
It was
phone.
one of her friends or something.
Yeah.
Somebody said, you can't make sacrifices when you're priced out by people like me that can come in and pay the price.
What?
Yeah.
Well, let me see.
Oh, yeah.
You
But-
can't make sacrifices when you're priced out by people like me that could come in and pay the price. Caesar, take it easy, bro.
First of all, that's too. You cannot, like, it's so polarized and so specific to like one person, one situation. Like we can't. That is exactly the type of mindset that we need to be very careful as local people not to think, because there's always, and it's not just for local people, it's for everybody. There's always going to be somebody who comes and has more than you, who is in a better position than you are, who is smarter than you, who is whatever, it just has an upper hand for whatever reason it might be, because they earned it, because they had it handed to him, whatever it might be. That's not really your concern. That has nothing to do with you.
And I would say if people of Hawaii see this and you don't like that comment, then hui, like the homeless people, they're like, do something about it.
I mean, and it's like the trek you never want to trek. I mean, they bought the parcel, 24 acres. They had to put in their own infrastructure. They have about 2 buildings up. They had to pull permits. I don't know if you guys saw that the governor did another proclamation for housing, but he did it because their project's not done. So, like, I'm not saying, like, oh, my gosh, make a nonprofit and it's over. Like, there is so much work. But I'm just saying, if you're not allergic to work, I mean, sky's
and just
the
compare.
limit.
Like, it could be another year, hundreds of years ago. Like, we have it pretty good, even though it's hard to survive and you got to grow. You're forced to grow, but you used to be forced to, have a low survival rate of your kids and your wife and all that stuff. So we still got it pretty good.
I don't know if there's anything up
What other questions should we hit?
on the bottom.
Short-term rentals are good for the island, this person says.
Short-term rental.
That's not a question, so I'm not gonna hit it. You have a magic wand that can change. I saw one in here. Ululani shave ice is the best. What do you think? What do you think is the best
Yeah,
shave
that-
ice?
Is that in Kauai?
It's a
Maui.
Maui.
Oh,
It's
What do you
super
think is the
good. They're
best?
coming to Kapahulu. If you haven't had it, I'm a strong
I've had
advocate.
Kapahulu. What at
Waiola.
Waiola's good. I like the one in Kauai though, the Wailua shave ice, because they
Yeah,
have like
they're
the
actually
foam on
good.
top
I like them
and
too.
like yeah.
Ululani's is different. You'll like it.
Yeah.
What about on Oahu? What's
Best
the
shave ice on
shave
Oahu.
I do like Wailola's the best, but I'm a townie-ish.
Yeah. But
You
what
know,
about
'cause I
like
grew
the
up in
melt
town.
factor? Like I love Waiola,
Waiola is
but
so
it's just,
soft. There's a point where the shave ice is so soft, too soft. They melt.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
What about in Waianae? Get Mountain Magic
Where is that?
in Makaha.
they moved to Waikele. Was there still one
No,
in
and there's a
Waikele?
truck in Waikele. There's a truck right next to the Leonards.
Yeah, I don't know if I've tried that one.
No, they don't.
Real heavy hitter questions, guys.
They don't have. I'm lightening it up. Okay.
Let's talk flavors.
They don't have the best locations because like next to the freeway. But try me on the flavors.
It's cash only though.
Horchata,
warning.
cash only, so they ain't paying no property tax. You know what I mean? There ain't no taxes over there. But
We won't talk about what permits needed when you have a food truck.
Yeah, no.
super
Moving
good.
on.
Moving
Okay.
on,
Any
yeah.
other questions, Kench?
I mean, you can see them, but if not, just go to Lawrence.
Oh yeah, so we our teammate has a friend who is like a West Side resident, and their worry is beach access. Like, do we think? What is your take on if there is enough beach access for local families to continue having coastline access, and with buildings that are coming up, do you feel like, or is it in jeopardy of like familial beaches where people have gone for generations and generations of them not having that same access that they have to the coastline anymore?
So there are SMAs, which is what is it? Special management area permit that you have to pull when you're building that close to the water. So I would say in Waianae, there's no buildings that are coming up that close to the water. Since I've been elected, I think maybe we had one issue in Ko'olina that there was like a small moment where they were closing off their parking lots, of which that's the only way to get to the beach in Ko'olina because you cannot park.
Oh, yeah.
But things were resolved. They reopened the parking lots. This was during COVID. And then, I think aside from that, in Waianae, I'm not as concerned. However, we are voting on some shoreline setback bills. And I'm concerned because a lot of Native Hawaiians own land so close to the shoreline that we need to be mindful that we're not setting policy that's going to basically prohibit people from pulling a permit to maintain or repair their home. Because what they're saying is that for X amount of feet by the water, that these areas you shouldn't be building in.
We as in real estate, we see homes that are like,
Falling into the
this
ocean,
home is a
like-
liability.
Yeah.
But they're like, can I build seawall? Can I do nothing?
Yeah.
Can I put? You're not even supposed to put sandbag or whatever. Like,
Well, and I think part of it is shoreline management, right? So like my friend owns Wailua Stables, and basically what they did is just bring back all the Native Hawaiian plants that help to attract the sand and secure the area around so that you start to build out your shoreline back again.
is that sufficient?
Well, if you do it correctly, yeah.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
So there's a list.
But I just
and-
know if I had $2 million house, I would like, and I grew up surfing. I told you I wanted to like quit everything to be a beach boy. I love the ocean. If anything's going wrong, straight to the ocean. But if I have my house like and it's like gonna wash away, like the one on North Shore was all over. It's like
Yeah.
I would want to be able to protect my asset too. So I'm like again conflicted. Like is that enough? Like planting native plants, or like
Well, there's
or
a whole-
the tides just rising and not gonna have.
Well, there's a whole
Yeah,
list
like-
of plants that do actually bring back the sand because the root structure of it is actually what's going to start to contain the sand.
Okay.
So what you have when you have a lot of waves is that you have sand being washed out, and most of the time it comes back. Sometimes it doesn't.
Okay.
So what you want to do is you want to have things that can actually hold the sand, attract it, and keep it, right?
Okay.
So when I was in Tonga, another reason why their shoreline is not eroding is because they have a coral reef around the island. And I'm talking about Nuku'alofa, which is the main island. But when I went there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing because you'll never lose your shoreline because all around it, it's like a blowhole. It shoots straight up. And of course, I told my mother-in-law, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I feel like God protected Tonga. She's like, yes, God loves Tonga the most. But there's artificial reefs that people have put in as well to kind of try to bring that back. So I do believe that our way forward with that has to be learning from other island nations. I've seen the U.S. do a lot of like, oh, look what they're doing in California. Like, how about we go talk to Micronesia? How about we talk to islands that are gone already?
Right,
There are islands in Tonga that used to be, now they're no more.
Right.
So like, why don't we go to these islands where they have these like really like extensive shoreline management plans because
Yeah.
we need something like that.
Sounds like a good place to start to me.
Couple of things.
Questions?
One, cue up the audience. Say, hey, ask now.
Yeah, ask questions. We're gonna get ready to wrap it up. If you guys don't provide us with some questions, we've had a great conversation, so we're gonna wrap it up.
And
Well, we got
then
one.
Molly is about 7 up. There's a few that came in, but you can start with Molly, Mike, Keno.
Mari. Where?
7 comments up.
Matthew.
Above Rod Wilson.
Oh, I was looking for MALI. We were all talking Polynesian, Tonga. I didn't think Mali. Is it wise to buy an apartment or condo as long as it's not a leasehold? That's an overgeneralized question, so I don't want to just blanket say yes. Condos can appreciate at slower rates than single family because you do have different level of maintenance fees that increase, and an increasing maintenance fee is combating purchasing power, right? And lendability per 100,000, etc. So is it wise? It maybe is. We got to talk about it. So a nice new one that everyone's gonna want for a long time, or even a nice old one that's well maintained and everyone's gonna want to buy for a long time, like 1350 Ala Moana. Yes, probably. Is it wise to buy like the one that fell down in Miami? Like maybe not, so it just depends.
What about Matthew Aguilar?
Rod, I gotta hit Rod. So Rod says, is there any hope for speeding up the building permit process? This is our actual client. He bought a house with us, and I know he's going through some frustrations. He's from the mainland, and he's like, I can't even like do my addition, and it's been like forever. And I have a listing actually, town, and she's like, yeah, it's been 8-9 months. All I got to do is they got to look, and then I got to put drywall, and then we can list it. But right now it's beams because cannot close either the plumbing or the electric or general. So that's it. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, let's get at it.
I know you're ready for that kind.
Yeah, no, I definitely was championing some DPP, what would you call it, efficiency bills.
Yeah.
So last year when our director was Dean Uchida, who actually was from the private sector, he resigned. So I had a town hall and I had like 170 people, of course, all complaints about permitting. And so I kind of made a list of things that we needed to do to help it. I always say like, how do you take down a mountain? One stone at a time.
Yeah.
So like I can't like knock down DPP, but I can take away like things that are difficult for them to do that are making it more laborious for them to give out a permit, right? So I have right now in the QE Bill 56, which basically gives more items on the exemption list. So there's a whole list of items in the law that you're exempt from needing a permit for. I think there should be more items on there. Component replacement. Right now, you have to get a permit for any fences over 30 inches, which I'm like, what kind of fences are only 30 inches? But the director agreed with me. She's like, no, it should be up to 6 feet. Because right now you got people in the permitting line trying to do on fence, doing renovation. You have commercial permits. You have solar permits. So what I'm trying to do is pull the people out of the line that don't need to be in there. So that's Bill 56. I put in Bill 58, which basically is going to refund people their fees once they hit the 365. Now it's two ways. One is that I feel like it's punitive right now because when you hit the 365, you actually have to reapply for all your permits. Like, what's wrong with that when you've been doing everything right and you waited and now you got to pay again? The director agreed with me. She's like, that's unfair. I was like, right. So they should be refunded at the 365, not charged again. And secondly, I hope that it will help DPP to move a little faster because once they start refunding people at the year and there's so many people waiting at a year, it'll become, I think, financially unstable for them to keep taking so long. I also put in a reso, I think it's 22299, and it's basically a solar app because I want all the solar guys to get out of the line too. Because I think if they can have their own way in and we're not all using the same bot, the same process, hopefully we can start to have just the 75% of permits that are waiting that are residential taken care of. So just for everyone's clarity, there's about 8,000 permits in the QE and 75% of them are residential. That's problematic because I'm not talking about building commercial or like, big old housing complex. I'm talking about the everyday person that's trying to renovate and now they waited for a year, boom, interest rate up, boom, materials
the
up.
consequence of that, interest rate up, maybe liquidating their asset, they lose hundreds of thousands. Maybe they missed this last seller's market. Maybe they say F them and they just build and now they build subpar.
Totally.
That's a guarantee. That's an obvious consequence. Can a third party, can the government issue a contract to a third party, for-profit company, give them incentives for being expedient, and have them augment the permitting process, or does it have to be red tape bureaucrat?
So if you go to DPP's website, they have a whole list of approved third-party reviewers. And these are people that are actually like licensed. They've taken a test through the city to determine that they know what they're doing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because of that federal lawsuit that actually went in, because I think 4 of them got indicted. It was one person that was a third-party reviewer. And then it was, I think, 3 people from DPP that were indicted. But the city has been very hands-off about like, oh my gosh, like we don't want this to happen again. But to your point, I put forward a reso, I forget the number, but we're going to discuss it soon because I feel like, say we don't do it for a long period of time, say we just bring in relief workers for a short period of time. They did it during COVID when they had like a billion people needing unemployment. Like I would say we're at a crisis right now. So if we're at a crisis, then just hire some relief workers, get them in there, couple months, boom, cut them loose. Like I told the director, we're not ever going to get this mountain of permits down unless we be realistic with ourselves here.
So can that happen?
Well, I'm hoping. I have to meet with the union heads because basically we just need to move.
Imagine how much work we would stimulate for local people.
My uncle called me and he was like,
Don't
Andrea,
get you started, huh?
I saw your news article about the 8,000 permits. He's like, why don't you quantify that in dollars for me?
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm talking billions that are
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many brothers, with the high res shirt that can save up for a down payment and wealth building because now they can work or whatever.
Well, and I'll give some high level examples. Chick-fil-A waiting for a permit. Olive Garden, Couple A waited over a year for a permit.
So
And they
even
had
these
to-
people have to wait.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But it's hard because they get 80 something employees that they have to pay full time while they wait for this permit. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of money on the line. We're not talking about a piece of paper. We're talking about livelihood here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Several lives. Wow. I assumed there was some process where Olive Garden got their permit faster or something.
You'd be shocked how much people call me about their permit getting stuck.
Really.
I wouldn't be shocked. I feel like it'd be a lot because that's a commonplace thing that we're hearing all the time now, and it's
DPP don't like endless salad, breadsticks.
Why, you got something against
You
Chick-fil-A?
got something against pickled marinated chicken. Any other questions?
There's some add astral to the stars. The second comment.
So if buy land on Big Island, what I'm looking at to build house, I ain't rich. 2,500 square foot would be nice. So I know an investor that has their building cost down below 130 per square foot. I'll say that's optimistic for any normal person. $175 per square foot for a plantation style home. Probably something like that. And you know what? Depending on how I report my numbers, I'm top 80 something, top whatever realtors. I live in a 900 something square foot house. I should be providing, coaching my son's basketball out in this beautiful land. I know 2,500 square foot would be nice for me too, but I live in 900 something. First world problems. 2023 first world problems.
Maybe Mimi and that's it.
Okay.
Or Lopez, whatever. That's a line.
Rod, you'd vote for me. I am not running. I maybe do more videos with Dr. Tupola. I'm not running for anything. Who you said? Mimi. Question, is there a possibility to ban the home purchase by non-U.S. citizens? I think it's contributing to the preventing locals. So I don't know that it's constitutional. Can you ban non-citizens from buying?
So I
I
think
mean, you cannot
in-
ban Californians from buying. It's unconstitutional, right? But can you ban Chinese, Japanese, Canadians from buying in Hawaii?
I think per the law, because we're part of, the United States, from what I understand, that the prohibition of people from other countries from buying land is against the Constitution.
That's my understanding too. And I
But-
don't hold I don't expect you to have every constitution, every HRS statute. You can't have everything memorized.
But I mean, that's why people are always like, oh, why wouldn't condone New Zealand? Okay, so FYI, New Zealand's a country.
Yeah.
So New
Yeah.
Zealand can make their policies for New Zealand, but
Right,
we are
right.
attached to this larger body of
Yeah.
decision making where we're
An
not just an
important
island.
distinction that many people seem to forget.
But I think if you look it up, though, people have commented. There's articles about whether or not that worked, meaning that in New Zealand you have to be resident to buy land. But
Right.
did it change or affect the cost of housing?
in a positive way.
Yeah, did
well, hey, Kenj, don't let me forget to talk about Brenton Alva's HARPTA proposal. We can end on that. What we see in real estate, and I'm sure the macroeconomists that work, from UH that work with the Honolulu Board of Realtors and stuff probably know better. But foreign people aren't buying Eva Gentry, for the most part. We see country, Maunalua. It's mostly condos in town. And so I believe it's Bill 9 that's proposed. There's Bill 4 or 5 and 9 or whatever. But so that if you don't live in the home for 180 days, they're going to issue a 3% property tax assessment every year. Which 3% is one side of a commission. So, cities getting into the real estate commission games at 3%. But I challenged him. He said, "Did you know that X percent? It was closer to 10% of Hawaii homes go unoccupied for that long." And I was like, "What kind though? Town condos and who's got Waikiki?" And he's like, "Yeah, mostly a lot of that." And it's not that local families wouldn't live there, and that'd still be an asset to local people. But you also have, Mrs. Watanabe in Pro City, who saved up that extra one in Palisades and going to pass them on to her grandma or to her granddaughter, and she's going to get assessed 3%. So I just bringing back the point of every time, like tax assessment, money for the people, you're filtering it through an inefficient system, and it usually historically it doesn't solve the problems. I used to work with a guy. He's like, well, I lived in Germany and it was great, and you know what? Scandinavia has great schools. Japan, great schools, but the policy and it's conducive to their culture and their land too. So you can't apply Scandinavian approach to Japan and think they're going to maintain their test scores, right? Like you got to do what's right for Hawaii, and I don't know that tax is always the right thing.
Yeah.
If we don't have other questions, we can talk about this HARPTA thing.
Someone says, Andria needs to run again as governor.
Yeah, you know what? This first time I just Instagram follower, and I saw her cleaning up the streets and empowering the people. That's all I knew. But after this conversation, I would say you have my vote for sure. Do you know? I actually intended to read Brenton, right? Mm-hmm. Brenton Ava's proposal, or is it a bill? He proposed a bill.
It's a bill.
I intended to try find it and read it. I think he didn't DM me back, which is my problem, not his. I didn't read it, but they want to tax, the HARPTA tax. They want to increase. There's HARPTA and there's FERPTA. So HARPTA is a tax, a withholding that if you're not a Hawaiian resident, you're not from here, you're a California investor, you buy a home, then you sell it and you have a capital gain. It's worth $100,000 more. They say that's not good, so 7.25%. If you're foreign, then it's 14+%. So those are measures already in place that discourage. And I tell people all the time, Hawaii is not a good cash flow state. And if you're ever going to liquidate, you're going to experience this tax. And if you want a cash flow, go to Michigan, go to Alabama. Like there are these other states. I can help you do that. I don't even care about the referral fee so much. If you want to create cash flow versus appreciation, there's different investment strategies. But I haven't thought it through. I haven't read the bill. But let's say a local person, Mrs. Watanabe from Pro City, it's arbitrary, this imaginary person, has her extra house, and then she decides to move Vegas just because she wants to, likes to go on MGM Grand. And she can afford to stay here, but she doesn't. And then she wants to go sell her house. She's going to have to pay 100% so it's worth $1 million more than she bought it in 1942. She got to pay 100%, she can't realize any of that money unless she comes back to Hawaii?
So part of Brenton's bill, just for clarification, is that what he mentioned was a 7.5. So you're have people selling, and then they have to pay this 7.5 fee, which is a lot that you pay to the government for selling your property, right? And you just said if you sell your property to somebody who's not from Hawaii.
If I misspoke, I'm sorry. If you are not Hawaiian, so if you're not
if you're not resident,
you're not Hawaii resident, you're a Floridian who bought a house, held it.
You pay the 7.5.
Right.
When you're not from Hawaii.
7.5.
Oh, I don't know. It's around 7 something.
It's a 7.25 or 7.5. Yeah.
So you have to pay this extra because you are selling, but to who you sell doesn't matter actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're just selling. Now take this bill, this HARPTA bill. So if you increase that 7.5 to 100, so Brenton never say 20, 30, Brenton went all the way to 100.
So pretty much, by here is what he said, right?
But right. So basically what it's saying is like, okay, would you come and buy a property in Hawaii knowing that 100% if you sell again is never going to go to you?
So you have to just exchange it for what you bought it for. That's
right.
it.
But then what he's saying is true, which is how many local residents are affected by that. So let's play some scenarios here. So if I'm a local resident and I don't live in Hawaii, right? But I'm from Hawaii, but I live Vegas. I'm from Hawaii, but I live Utah. So I'm going to buy a property, maybe use it for my family, maybe come back. Maybe the economic situation is hard. Maybe I want to sell it. How do we know that it doesn't affect local families?
It does. I mean, because what? You're not local because you now move Vegas.
Right.
I don't think we would say that.
Right. Yeah. And moreover, if this law passes and then all of these people are like, oh crap, I better sell my property, that doesn't mean that all those properties are going to local families.
Yeah.
Right.
So I hear what he's saying, which is disincentivizing the purchase. So his thought process was, if I disincentivize the purchase, then less people from out of Hawaii will want to buy. but what are the unintended consequences
Right,
of
right.
disincentivizing the buy?
Right,
Because
right.
we also talking about the sell here.
Right.
So like, how do you actually affect that? And I don't know. I would say similar to what you said, you can only like gerrymander so much different numbers and equations to be like, and now it's totally disincentivized. Like
Yeah, yeah.
people still gonna
Well,
come.
you never. I don't know of an example. By the way, gerrymander, that's a good one. Huh? She always teased me because she went Kamehameha, and she's like, "Oh,
Well,
you."
because we had word of the day, right? So we have like these weird like
She's
Jeopardy
like, "Oh, I'm
style like
blank
nugget words.
adjacent." And I'm like,
No, that's
"Stop
not a
using
big
adjacent.
word.
You're using that
Derek.
too much."
Anyway, that was a fantastic,
Aloof.
and I love being in the
Anyways.
company of somebody who uses big words.
I don't typically know of situations where people gerrymander things and then like catch it all and it works.
No.
No, but
Yeah.
the heart and the simple, the lizard brain would say, yeah, make that rule. That's bad. Do them. But it doesn't fix the cultural problem, the mindset problem, the work ethic problem. And I think Brenton, Ava, and I would probably enjoy a beer and like, you know, I like him from what I don't really know much about him, but I saw during campaign season this local brother with the beard and the red law shirt, and I was like, see what a cool one. And my friends, our photographer Mark and Maria Pierre, them kind of like rock with him, but I just back to principles. I can't go down every hypothetical road. Principally, over taxation's never really fixed anything.
No. I would
Just
agree.
principally.
Yeah, I would agree.
But would I do disincentivizing? Not, and so we help like physicians move here. Hey, mainland or not, you want that good heart surgeon living here, right? Like,
Yeah.
so no act, right? But so we help amazing contributors to Hawaii move here as well, even though they're
Right.
not from here. But just the Californian, Floridian, like make it rain guy who's like, I want to buy everything. Like, yeah, I tend to want to disincentivize that too. I tend to want to.
Well, and there's always two ways, right?
But
you
I
can
think
incentivize or disincentivize. When
yeah.
you're a teacher, you can discipline or you can commend. So,
Yeah.
like, I think if there were other ways in addition, right? Because I don't know how far this proposal will really get because it's very extreme.
Yeah.
And it is for conversation purposes, but you got to remember there is 26 senators, 51 representatives. You got to get half of all of those guys to agree with your ideas. Like the
And
state.
they go in house in Kailua.
Yeah. Well, and
Veganica.
I would say working at the state, I realized it's the long game. And I
Yeah.
told Brenton that. I said, you got to get ready for the long game because if you're a senator or a representative, like to get that many people to agree, you got to be in there for decades to move the wheel. And I think I'll move like one degree and you got to be like, yes, I moved to 1 degree.
But we can shift minds now.
Yeah.
And work ethics and
I feel like that's where the power is at.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy my job for the service that I can give to the community, but
Yeah.
I can tell you that politics, doesn't change lives.
Yeah.
The actions that you make through it can or cannot, but I find much more like, I guess, comfort and I feel better about myself when I just give straight up service.
yeah.
I'm not like, oh, look at this bill I passed and now you have a better life. Like people at Second Say, they don't care about that.
Yeah.
So, I just want to end on thanking you for being here with us. I think we'll elevate each other's platforms and message. Is there anything else that you would want to impart or ask of the people? Just closing statements in general.
I know it's difficult, especially for people around our ages, to even want to entertain knowing what's going on in government, but I would highly recommend it. I would say that my heightened sensitivity to government was because of my Venezuela experience. It's unfortunate that I had to like go through that to come back and be like, you have to watch the government. They might come for you. But like it changed my perspective. So like my like political radar was like, boo, boo. Like when people are running for office and I hear them talking about ideas, I'm like, ooh, that's a bad one. Ooh, that's a good one. Because I know what the idea looks when implemented into society.
Right.
So I'm just saying this because I feel like a lot of people think, okay, yeah, that's what our parents are there for. That's what everyone always says that. Andrea, that's why you're there. Like, okay, so like I cannot fight every fight. I cannot win. Right. So what I need people to do is get engaged, get educated. And if I do give a call to action, testify or other things, because this is our generation. It is our time to lead. That was my motto when I ran for governor. Our time is now.
Yeah.
So our time is now means that we're not going to wait for somebody else to make decisions for us. We're going to make those decisions.
I think we're in a crucial point in time.
Yeah.
If you go in the flow chart of, bad times create strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. I'm fearful that we're in a very important time in history. We got to step up and be strong and increase work ethics and not be so entitled and
right.
Yeah.
And I'm not encouraging everyone to run for office, because I definitely think everyone shouldn't. But what I'm saying is that it can be a positive thing to engage.
Yeah.
And I encourage the engagement, whether at the neighborhood board level or at the school that you're at, or, PTA or, I just think that the more people are invested into our communities, the more we are building people who want to stay here for generations to come. So if we can get engaged at that level, we're not going to cut ties because we put too much investment in that. I'm never going to cut ties. Look at how much investment I put in my soccer program, my daughter's school. I
never thought about it that way. But now that I'm helping coach my son's basketball, that kind of resonates with me. I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
Can I follow up on that question?
Sure.
But then you got to say it because I don't have a mic.
Yeah.
But a lot of our audience are not like, let's say, your constituents, people who live here, been living here. So on the channel, there's a lot of outside-in kind of views.
Yeah.
So what's your position as a congresswoman representing
councilwoman?
What's your message, councilwoman?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Congress. That's okay.
Congress.
Honokai from going Campbell.
You know what I mean? Just a message to this audience, like people who are looking in.
I had that thought as well. So our content director behind the scenes basically pointed out that a lot of our audience is from the mainland, or we can show you the stats, but like even from other countries, etc. So even though we've kind of been, some of our stuff has been focused towards local people, I think that's good content.
Yeah, and which we need, and
you get to feel like how 3 local people, another local person, and councilwoman speaks, but
just to speak to another audience that is definitely present, in our sphere, what as like a champion for local people, as a representative of local people, as somebody who hears a lot of complaints, cries, that sort of thing from your community, what kind of message would you want to put out to those people who maybe are looking to Hawaii to come here, maybe looking to move here, or just have an admiration for Hawaii? Like what kind of message can you put out for those people?
Some would be insecure, like, is it okay if I come?
A lot of people are.
Some are like, I come in, but am I gonna get in fights? Like some are like, there's a whole spectrum. Yeah, how can I contribute when I get there?
That's a good question.
There's all those things.
Well, so I guess I would put out there on a very micro level. I grew up in Hawaii Kai, which people in White and I are not necessarily fond of.
You don't say kuli o or something to try to sound more cool.
But so just, I guess, to give you context, I come from a part of the island that is a little more affluent. And I moved to an area of an island that's not as affluent. And so when I did move there, of course, the same questions came, which I think on a micro level is like someone moving from the mainland to Hawaii, which is everybody like, why are you here?
Exactly.
Point,
I mean, I moved to Molokai and experienced that exact same thing too.
Like who told you come here?
Yeah.
And then think about running for office. Even more so, people is like, oh, now you want to take this place over. Take your Hawaii Kai ideas and get out of here.
That is local nuance, and that's what we love.
So I think that's the difference though, right? Is like when I got there, I immediately told my husband when we bought our house, I was like, we're supposed to live here. I didn't say, oh my gosh, this house is so cheap, and oh, look, the pool, and oh my gosh, central air. Like, no, none of that. I had a feeling that we were going to be a fabric of this community. And I was like, I want my children to be like, I'm from this place and I can speak the language and my friends are from here and we contributed and we cleaned these streets. So I feel like anyone, no matter where you are, you can do that. If I felt at home in Venezuela, I, as a Hawaiian woman, felt at home there. You can do it too. I lived in Utah for 10 years. That feels like home to me too.
Is it? I don't want to put her on the spot. I love her so much. But is it okay for people to come here?
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
I think at the end of the day,
Because
the
I know some of your...
diaspora.
'cause-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just gonna drop that. The diaspora is like that. There is always going to be this shift of people, cultures, languages, and stuff. And I think the actual mixture of it is so rich. So
Yeah.
people are afraid of the mixture, right? Oh my gosh, we're getting diluted. The mixture makes it so rich that you
Yeah.
can't get it anywhere else. So I would say coming to Hawaii, sure, it might be a scary thing because you don't know people. I don't know. I guess I never feel scared. I lived in Arizona for a year and knew nobody. I taught high school in Casa Grande, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this
my
people.
coach was from there. Yeah, she's like one of the number one agents.
Yeah, and I taught in East LA. So my mom is from Pasadena. So like I feel like wherever I go, I just like boom into the people. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
speaking the language, going with with whatever they do. And for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
I feel like that can happen anywhere. So I guess for those who are watching, I do think that there's a rich culture here. I think there's a lot of good. So say you come and you leave and you take it with you. There's a lot of good that can happen when you do
we see that with our military people, right? They're like, and a lot of times they're like, man, I had these Samoan friends.
Yeah.
They used to,
You remember what they used to eat?
They used to eat that bread with
What
the
was that?
coconut milk. Was that pongi popo? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We see that a lot with military people.
Sharing cultures and sharing languages is such a beautiful thing, because
Yeah.
I can speak Hawaiian, I speak Spanish, and people are always shocked because I'm just like a chameleon anywhere I go, I'm in LA and then and I'm like, yeah, this is my people. Like,
You start sea walking in the to the west side.
but yeah, so I hope that you understand that like the real thing that happens when you move somewhere is that you have to be a part of the community.
So a lot of people say, if you're gonna come, don't try to change Hawaii, let it change you. And I would, for the most part, agree. Now, if you got some great things to bring, of course, like I want that impact, but preserve aloha. Like people can come and we can preserve aloha, right?
Yes.
I think that's a good way to end it. So thank you so much. What if people want to connect with you? Instagram?
Yeah.
What is it? What's your Instagram handle?
Just my name, Andria Tupola.
Andria Tupola. Andria Tupola. Tupola. Is that your main thing?
I mean, you can call my office. If you have a work-related question, that'd be 768-5001, and I can answer any concerns you might have.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys. This man, I wanted to move home and have these kind of conversations. This has been one of my favorites. Thank you. This is going to be evergreen, so leave your guys' comments on this video. Send it to people who are going to watch it for a long time and boost our average view duration.
I agree. Okami dog. Andrea's a real one.
What did she say?
latest comment. So thank you. Thanks
Andrea's a
for-
real one, right
Yeah.
on. All right, leave it on that. Andrea's a real one. Thank you.
Guys, oh yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I enjoyed that conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
please do.